Another edition of Pet Matters. My name is Dorothy Claeys, and I'm the Executive Director at Francisvale Home for Smaller Animals located right here in Radnor, Pennsylvania. Francisvale is one of the oldest continuously run no-kill shelters in the United States, having been founded in 1909. Our mission is to provide loving care to abandoned, surrendered, and abused animals while we look for their permanent homes. Today, I am joined by two people from Laurel House, Samantha Kwasniuk and Ashley Thompson. Welcome, and thank you so much for being here on Pet Matters today.
Thank you, Dorothy.
For having us.
Okay, so we are very excited today because we're announcing a new collaboration between Francisvale and Laurel House. The name of the brand new program is going to be the Purple Shelter Project. And what this is going to do is enable clients of Laurel House to move their lives forward without giving up their beloved pets. This project should be in full swing by the end of March, we hope. And we'll have more about that later, but let's start now. Samantha, would you please tell us and our viewers something about Laurel House, its mission and how long it's been here?
Sure. So Laurel House is a domestic violence agency in Montgomery County. We have a plethora of services that we provide for those that are either looking to leave an abusive relationship or looking for resources for a loved one. Even those that choose to stay, and that's important that we all keep that in mind with them.
So now, what is your role with Laurel House?
So my role, I am a two-person role. I am a case manager with Laurel House, and then I'm also on the DART team, the Domestic Abuse Response Team. So with that, what we do is we provide a lot of accompaniment going out to court, helping people file the protection from abuse orders. Just navigating a very complex system is super helpful, and we provide a lot of that crisis management with them.
Okay, and Ashley, please tell us what your role is with Laurel House.
Sure. So I'm the Assistant Director of Counseling at Laurel House. So I work within our counseling department. We provide, through our counseling department, individual counseling services and support group services for survivors of domestic violence. And we also do some community education at different, community counseling agencies. And we also provide supervision to master's level counseling interns and master's level social work, clinical social work.
So I was looking at your website and I see that you've been around for 40 years this year, I believe, which is incredible. And how many locations does your organization have?
Go ahead, Ashley.
Several. So we have quite a few locations. Our main office is located in the East Norriton area. Currently, most of what we offer is virtual services, but we're still fully functional and operational. But we do have an office in East Norriton. We have a smaller office up in the Pottstown area, in the North Wales area, in the Bryn Mawr area, and also a place called Nicole's Place up in Huntington Valley. So we really try to reach all corners of the county as best we can. The county is quite large. At some of our smaller kind of satellite sites, we mostly offer counseling and support group services. And then at our East Norriton site that houses our administrative work, our DART team's office is located there. And then we have a shelter at a different undisclosed location.
So is it basically people only from certain counties can be a part of your services, or are you, if someone else from outside of your county would come in, would that be acceptable, or how does that work?
Yeah, so for the most part, we work to serve Montgomery County. That's where we're located, but individuals from other counties can certainly seek services through us if it's more convenient for them. For example, if somebody lives in Delaware County but works in Montgomery County and they'd like to come to counseling services and it's easier for them to do that driving to us after work, that would be totally fine. Our shelter brings in people from different surrounding counties as well. So we focus on Montgomery County, but if we interact with the person from another county, we'll work to also get them connected to their local county program, as sometimes that's a little bit easier for people to navigate because it's where they live. But if they're looking for services through us, we can help them with that as well.
Okay. Now, I also noticed, because shopping, that you have two thrift shops on your website. Are they open now? Can people go there and shop?
I believe they are. Mhm.
They
Right now, they are available to shop. The, typically, they would also be accepting donations at that time too. Right now, we are limited because of COVID, so we're not able to take in a whole lot of things. If anything, I believe that's much more limited at the currently.
Okay. So now, as far as what your average client would be, or your client base, could you speak a little bit to who's the person that's going to come and seek help? And is it, as a basic thing, is it mostly women? Is it majority of men, kids? I mean, what is the division here of who is your client?
Sure. So I would say a majority of our clients are adult females, although we do have and provide services to men, to people who have different gender identities. We do say that domestic violence is an equal opportunity offender, so it really can't impact anyone. But I think primarily we're, between the ages of, this is going to be pretty broad, but between the ages of
Right.
18 to 64, women is
Women.
probably our base of clients. And again, it varies according to socioeconomic status, race and ethnicity, and gender identity as well, though. We do have one of our support groups is a gender neutral group. So we have both men and women who attend that group. And then our other support groups that are running for adults are actually women only groups.
And how many times would you say that it involves a pet? So how many of your clients on average would have a situation where they not only want help from themselves, but they also want help because they want to take the pet with them?
I mean, I can think of a few off the top of my head, just, in the time that I've been at Laurel House. I don't know if I could assign like a percentage or a number, but I can think of.
I know when we first started talking about setting up this program, Dorothy, I had reached out to some of our shelter staff, and at the time, we had only been a few months into the year,
Right.
and they had said that they already had come across 6 cases where the survivor decided to not leave because of the pet that was there. So it was there were about 6, maybe more, that they could definitely think of where that was the case.
Right. And I guess, and I'm imagining once people know that this service is available, that more people may reach out knowing that they can help both at the same time.
Yes.
So when you see these cases of domestic violence and abuse, what do you think is the greatest impediment for someone to leave? What is it that makes them stay?
You have something, Ashley?
Oh, go ahead.
Okay. Not wanting to leave the pet behind because of a very realistic fear that something terrible could happen to that pet. I mean, I personally, I have a dog, and I would be devastated if something were to happen to her and I wasn't able to do anything about it. So a lot of times it's that factor of, if I'm here, I'm able to protect them. If I leave and they don't come with me, what will happen?
Right. Right. So a lot of times, you're saying, in other words, that people won't leave a situation basically because of their animals.
Yeah.
And it's similar to what they would do, I guess, if they also didn't want to leave because of the children.
And I think something that is also important to point out is that, that fear around what could happen. Often abusive individuals will abuse the family pet in order to work to maintain that power and control in that relationship. And so often a person already knows, like, in the past, he or she has done this to my animal, or I'm pretty sure they did insert kind of terrible physical act or emotional abuse. And so they already have a good idea of what could potentially happen. And so that fear is very, very real. And I think it's important to note too, I have worked with individuals where their animals have been killed by their abusive partner.
That's
And
just
that's just,
horrible. Yeah, that's terrible. And was that while the person was still living there or after they left?
the couple instances I'm thinking of are while they were still living with them.
Oh, that's terrible. Yeah. So, I mean, I think that we've all probably heard and read somewhere that studies have proven that a person who starts out abusing animals is likely to abuse adults or people or kids or whatever. I think there's a definite a connection there. And Ashley, I know you have a lot of experience with this type of issue. Um, can you talk a little bit about that? And I actually saw some statistics that you had, and you might want to share those with our viewers because I don't know if people understand just how prolific domestic abuse is.
Sure. So when we talk about domestic violence in general, we know that anywhere between 1 in 3 to 1 in 4 women experience intimate partner violence or domestic violence and abuse. For men, the statistic numbers are between 1 in 4 and 1 in 7, and depending which study you're looking at. So we do know that it's very prevalent. It does happen. And in domestic violence, what we see is that an abusive partner is really looking to maintain that power and control over the person that they are abusing. And there are a lot of different ways that can happen. We actually have a tool called the power and control wheel, that if you Google power and control wheel, a picture will come up, a diagram. We believe we have one on our website as well. There's one on the National Domestic Violence website. That shows you the different ways that an abusive person works to maintain power and control. There's intimidation, manipulation, using the children, financial abuse, a lot of different ways. And animal abuse falls, right under that. And for some people, it falls right in under the child piece. Sam has animals. I have 3 fur babies myself, my cats, and they were my children before I had my daughter, and they're still my children after I had my daughter, right?
Right. That's exactly right.
Yeah. And they're part of the family, and we love them, and that places them in a vulnerable position in a situation where domestic violence is happening. We know that anywhere from about 49 to 71% of survivors have reported that their pets have been threatened or harmed or killed by their partners. We know that 85% of domestic violence shelters have indicated that indicate that survivors entering emergency shelter reported incidences of pet abuse. So this is not an uncommon thing. It happens, and it happens quite often. I think one of the things where it kind of goes both ways, a person whose animal has been hurt, if they can find a way to leave and bring the animal with them or protect the animal, sometimes knowing they can help keep their animal safe, that can sometimes prompt people to maybe move away from an abusive relationship. Whereas if there's nowhere for them to go with their animal, if there's no safe place for their animal to be, as Sam was saying, they're going to probably want to stay in order to protect the animal. So, that's something to really think about too. If you're suggesting that a person go into a domestic violence shelter or leave a relationship, there's so much more that comes along with that. Aside from animals, there's financial support, there's job considerations, human children considerations, so there's a lot to consider, and the pets are right up there, in level of importance.
Well, they're staggering numbers. It's amazing. In this business, in the shelter business, we often see the result of animal abuse. We never know who's done it because a lot of the animals are abandoned or they're surrendered, and you might have an idea, but we never see the extent of it, or we don't have an accounting of what happens, but it can be so sad and so devastating. And so, the basis of this project, the Purple Shelter Project, is to hopefully fill a gap there and to say, okay, you're in a situation, you want to take your animal, but you can't take them right now with you. So, that's what we're going to work on, and we're going to try to, get these people to get on with their lives. Now, let's just go through maybe the logistics of how this could work. So if somebody's out there and they're listening or they know someone who's abused, I just want to take a moment to have you tell them what your hotline is, because somebody may be watching this and thinking, they want to contact you. So if you would just tell us what your hotline is.
Sure. Our hotline number, which is 24/7, is 1-800-642-3150. Again, 1-800-642-3150. It's also on our website, which is www.laurel-house.org. And that the website has a lot of good resources on it as well, as well as the hotline number. And if you are someone who's experiencing some type of domestic violence and you're concerned about your abusive partner checking your browser history or looking at your phone, there's usually on most domestic violence program websites, there's an exit quickly button that will just exit you quickly from the website and take you somewhere else.
Oh, that's great.
That's important to note too. And then I know, I think Sam can speak a little bit too, if you have some animals, what that would look like if you're, seeking support for your animals or seeking to kind of preparing to leave, or how to stay as safe as possible if you're, remaining in the relationship.
Right. So Sam, let's say we have a scenario here where someone is, wanting to leave their situation, and then they contact you. What would be the first thing that you would do for them?
First, we would assess with them, see if, their desire is to come into our shelter or connect with a shelter in the area. Talking with them about the logistics around that. Are they able to leave safely? And then also if they're bringing a pet, what things they might need. So first we're going over those safety planning pieces. And then once they're connected with us, we can talk more about, bringing your pet. And then we can reach out to Francisvale to make that additional connection. So that way we make sure both parties, the pet parent and the pet themselves, are able to leave safely in the best manner that they can.
Right.
So different things like that. Sometimes the planning to leave, the safety planning, is making sure that, if the pet needs any medication, that you're bringing that with you. Documentations of ownership are very important. Having a leash and ID tags, any toys, anything that's familiar for the pet would also be really, really special and really important to help them with that transition process. Just like we do for the humans that are leaving as well, is making sure that you're bringing your important documentation, your medications, the things that are valuable to you that are important, so that way it all comes with you at once.
Right. So now how do you go about, these people they don't have a home, they have no place to go. So what is the step that Laurel House takes to get them into new housing?
So once the person has safely left and we're working with them in our shelter, we have all different case managers and workers who are helping the clients as they're in that transition process. So from day one, once they're in our shelter, we're talking with them on what are the next steps, what are the plans and the things that need to happen, so this way you can remain safe and you can start to make those steps to be self-sufficient on your own out of that abusive relationship. If it's applying for housing lists, if it's working on employment, so that way you and your pets can be reunited in a new safe home. If it's moving from one apartment to another, different things like that. Those are all things that our staff are able to walk alongside with a client as they're going through those processes.
And how long would it usually take someone to get back on their feet? So, is there a time limit on the program that assists with looking for housing?
Our shelter program is a 30-day crisis shelter. And then we have a transitional housing program that runs, I believe, about 2 years, and also a rapid rehousing program. I would say each person's experience is a little bit different based on what their needs are. Some people may just need a little help getting into an apartment and then they can take it from there. Some people need to be in shelter and then move into transitional housing if there is an open space available in that program, and then from there move into their own place. I'd say it definitely varies from our first contact with somebody through till maybe they're done receiving services. It could be a month, it could be 6 months, a year. What do you think about that?
That's typically what we see. And again, a lot of it does depend on what resources they currently have. So employment is a huge piece, just because not everybody that comes into our shelter, or not everybody who is seeking our services, has that employment. A lot of times in domestic violence, there's that financial abuse piece where the client, they're not allowed to work. They're tracked pretty much all day, and so having employment can be a huge obstacle for someone. So their length of time with our programs really does depend on what they already have. If it's helping them apply for some government programs to help get them started, or just doing some job skill training, applying for interviews, looking at resumes, different things like that. So it could be anywhere from just a week or 30 days just to help with that transition process on up. And sometimes even longer if we're working through a criminal process, which has its own length of time. They run on their own clock.
Mm-hmm. Well, we all know that education is such a key in so many situations, and in having people know that there's a program like Laurel House out there. Are there any educational measures that your organization takes, to go around maybe to different places, or have webinars with different organizations, that type of educational component?
We do that. We go out into the community as often as we can. We have a community education department that spends their time focusing on providing trainings and education classes for the youth in Montgomery County. So they actually go to our local middle and high schools and talk with the students about healthy relationships, about teen dating violence, and healthy friendships. And that program, is fantastic. They serve hundreds of kids every year, providing that education and support. And then we also, in our different departments, we work to educate and work with the different aspects of community. So, for example, the DART program might do some trainings with local police officers or different things to help give the information to the police so they know how to call if they have somebody who needs support. Our medical advocacy program goes out and trains medical staff in the county on how to screen patients for domestic violence and how to refer them to the DART program. Mm-hmm. In the counseling department, we go out to local community mental health organizations and talk with them about safety planning and what is domestic violence. If you have a patient who needs more support, here's how you can get in touch with us for that. And honestly, we'll go anywhere somebody will let us if they want us, want to hear about the services that we offer. We'll go to churches, speaking events, tabling events where it's a community event and we just set out a table with a lot of our resources and information. We'll be there.
That's good to hear. And that's a good segue into my next question. So what are some of the ways that the public can get involved helping you? Helping Laurel House, and also helping our collaboration, which will be taking effect in March, as we said. What are some of the things you think people can do to give us a hand?
So we have, before the COVID-19 pandemic, we had a lot of different volunteer opportunities in person. Currently, those are a little bit limited. We don't really have those happening right now. Once the pandemic has ended, some of those will come back, hopefully be available again. And that could be sitting at tabling events, coming into the office and helping us sort through donations that we receive, helping us send out mailings, things that can happen in person. Currently, though, with the pandemic, a way that a lot of people have been volunteering is really through donations, whether it's donating gift cards or pantry items, personal protective equipment items. And then in particular, thinking about this project, one of the things that could potentially be the pet items, whether it's animal beds, food, leashes, collars, things that, can sometimes be a little bit expensive. Treats, especially the greenies treats, those are, my cats love those.
A favorite.
Yeah. So I think sometimes a donation of those different items can be helpful because then we can provide them to our clients for their furry family members.
Terrific. So I just want to regroup and say, if you're watching this program today and if you are in a situation, an abusive situation, or you know someone who is, please get help. I mean, there are resources out there, and Laurel House is a great example of a resource. And you can call their hotline at 1-800-642-3150. And if you would just reiterate, please, your website address.
Sure. Yeah, it's www.laurel, LAUREL, hyphen house, HOUSE.org.
Okay, great. Samantha and Ashley, thank you so much for being here today. Francisvale is looking forward to working with the both of you and Laurel House in making a difference in the victims of domestic violence, whether they're the human ones or the animal ones. Thank you so much. And if anyone out there needs any more information about the Purple Shelter Project or about Francisvale or Laurel House, you can find information on both our websites. Our website is francisvillehome.org, and you can email us from there. Thank you so much for joining us today on another edition of Pet Matters. And please don't forget to check our website for maybe a new furry companion for yourself. And please follow us on Facebook at Francisvale Home. If you want more information, our website is francisvillehome.org, and Laurel House is, once again,
www.laurel-house.org.
Okay, thank you. Okay, till next time on Pet Matters, this is Dorothy Claeys for Francisville Home for Smaller Animals, the shelter where every pet matters.